He's not leaving your service. He's asking where you're at.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, we ask that you kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices or place them on silent. Thank you.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואינו אחסר, בנאות אשר ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי אשובב, נפשי אשובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך הם ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב, טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני ליורך ימים.
Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. A loving father, devoted husband, gifted and respected doctor, dear friend, committed and devoted congregant, and a driven self-advocate. Mark Bauman was a man who had many accomplishments and deep connections in his life. In knowing him for 11 years, no role, though, that I saw was more special to him than the role of being Papa. Mark beamed with joy in the photos that I saw of him with Tyler, and Shep Nafis overseeing him in South Jersey and bringing him with him to Congregation Beth Tikva. I'm Rabbi Nathan Weiner. I'm the rabbi at Beth Tikva, the congregation that Mark has called home for decades. I'm joined, and you just heard from, Cantor Joseph Leibovic. And I'll now share some words from our Rabbi Emeritus, Gary Gans, who regrets that he's unable to be with us in person today. He shared, I thank Rabbi Weiner for representing me here today, since I'm not able to be with you physically. Certainly, I am connecting with you emotionally and spiritually from afar. Rather than focus on Mark's medical condition, I'm remembering instead his years of happiness with Terry and delight with his daughters, Erica and Jamie, his son-in-law David, and the joy of his life, his grandson Tyler. Also his relationship with his brother Jay. It is poignant, but not surprising, that Mark died within days of the 11th yortzeit of Terry. He was recently at services to say Kaddish for her, which we acknowledge for him to be a noble struggle, but a testimony to his eternal devotion to her. Throughout her own decline, Mark was ever the loyal and attentive partner, advocate, and caregiver to Terry's needs. Mark remained strong for her, but he was a broken man, as he stood alongside me at the funeral as I officiated at the cemetery. Today, he will be permanently returned to her side as he is placed in the adjoining gravesite. Rabbi Gans continues, Congregation Beth Tikva became a second family to Mark as he emerged as a committed worker and dedicated member. With a strong Jewish background, he excelled in his tasks on our ritual committee. For years, I was confident in knowing there would be no loose ends or gaps in our ritual logistics. Mark also had the inner strength to delegate responsibilities and raise up future ritual leaders. Mark was always tending to the needs of others, whether in his family, our congregation, or in his professional role as a podiatrist. His seat cannot ever be completely filled. May his memory be for an eternal blessing. As Rabbi Gans mentioned, Mark was such a presence at Beth Tikva, and especially on its ritual committee. He often chanted the Haftarah on Yom Kippur afternoon, and he was a regular at almost all of our service opportunities. In my mind, in many ways, Mark was an unstoppable force and an inspiration for self-advocacy. Nothing stopped him. He was determined not just to add days to his life, but to add much life to his days. My early memories of Mark as a rabbinic intern involve performing Jamie and David's wedding, one of the first that I had ever performed. Since then, I've gotten to know him closely and have seen the determination in face of insurmountable odds. You all know. You know. If Mark, in his professional opinion, thought that he should have a service or procedure, he found the doctor who would agree and somehow, miraculously, brought the insurance company along too. I don't know how he did it, but he wanted to live, and he did. And I want to share with you a powerful private moment that I got to have with Mark. With our mobile sukkah, it's going to make me cry. And it had a profound effect on me. I remember that he was ill and wasn't driving, so he asked me if I would bring our mobile sukkah to him personally at his house. And of course I did. The two of us stood together in front of his house, and Mark leaned back on the truck, closed his eyes, held the lulav and etrog tightly, shook them, and said the prayer. And through tears, he thanked me for bringing this mitzvah to him. That moment with Mark made the entire sukkah project worthwhile. I would do it again just for that. And Mark brought a weight and a seriousness to what he did. Our Jewish tradition teaches that while the physical body is temporary, the soul is eternal. And today, we all gather together for sacred purpose. We pray for full and complete rest for Mark's body. And as he'll be laid to rest shortly alongside Terry in the Beth Tikva section at Crescent, we note that his soul remains bound to the bond of life. That's to each of you. And we seek blessings for the continued elevation of his soul. May our time together today have purpose, and may it hold deep meaning, and may it honor well Mark's memory. It's an honor, truly, on behalf of myself, my own family, and our extended congregational family, to be present with each of you today. Mark, as I mentioned, is predeceased by his wife Terry of blessed memory. He's survived by his brother Jay and Jay's wife Marilyn, his daughter Erica, and his daughter Jamie, and Jamie's husband David, his grandson Tyler, and his girlfriend Ellen. May your love for one another, God willing, carry you through this very difficult transition. From Ecclesiastes, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them up, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. Now is a time for speaking and to offer hespeds, words, selfless words of honor and dedication for Mark. I first invite up David and Tyler.
I really miss my papa so much. I miss him forever.
It's been almost exactly 20 years since I met the Bauman family. I think Jamie and I have been together for maybe a month when I first drove down to South Jersey from Massachusetts for our first post-camp visit. And all these years later, still as clear as day, I can remember the first conversation I had with Mark, standing in his driveway, talking about sports. I remember him telling me how he got cut off on the highway by Bernie Perrant. And we ultimately agreed that goalies were a little weird, but for whatever reason, he still let me take out his daughter. All these years later, I have a greater understanding and appreciation for the trust that he showed in me that day. Just a 19-year-old kid that he just met, and he still let me take his daughter to a Phillies game that night, on a school night. And Terry and Mark always treated me like family. They welcomed me into their home, and they never made me feel anything but welcome and like a part of them. Over the years, we came closer and closer, sharing in all kinds of special moments and memories. Starting the following year when I moved into his house, and his Yankees were playing my Marlins in the World Series, which was fun. Or the following spring when him and I drove up to Shea Stadium for my first time going there, and that was a fun day. The stadium workers actually had to wait on us to leave. Let's just say after that visit, neither of us are recommending the Shea Stadium chicken tenders anymore. There are a lot of little things over the years, like the family coming to my hockey and softball games, or big events like graduations, family trips, winning trivia contests, basically any place Mark and I could find them. And as much as I always pride myself on being a movie and sports trivia buff, his knowledge of random information far surpassed mine. After 20 years of being part of the Bauman family, I'm grateful to have so many memories to draw back on with Mark and Terry. It breaks my heart that my children won't get a chance to know them the way that I did. But so much of who Jamie and I have become as adults and parents was shaped by the love that we were showed and the lessons that we were taught by Mark and Terry, and we'll always cherish that.
And Erica.
I'm in complete and utter shock. I think we all are. As was just discussed, the timing given were devastating. Jamie and I lost Mom 11 years ago this past Friday, and then Dad now. It's like the only peace I can feel at all is knowing they are together. Daddy has been strength beyond anything I could have imagined. Every time the odds were stacked against him, he fought with every fiber of his being to get through it. For his girls, and for his favorite person, his grandson. He got so much enjoyment, and I know everything he did was to live for Tyler. Daddy was my roller coaster buddy. The minute I was able to be on one, he was right there next to me. I know that my love for him is because of him. And trivia. We love things like Name That Tune or Trivial Pursuit, and randomly breaking out into song. Definitely Daddy. I will forever laugh over his recent obsession with the song King of Queens by Ava Max. He would sing it to me, cracking me up. And the song Blue Moon, he sang that one too, even though he knew it drove me nuts. But my personal favorite was his high-pitched falsetto of Hey There, Lonely Girl. He really did crack me up, a lot. He had a connection with Lucky, and those here that knew my little guy was his favorite grandkitty. He consistently asked me when he should have his tux ready for Lucky's wedding to my neighbor's cat Nellie. And if Lucky was ready for his cat mitzvah this fall, as he's turning 13. Have you ever seen a cat in a tallis with a yarmulke? I'm gonna make it happen. I'm so glad I came up to see him Memorial Day weekend and celebrate Father's Day with him early. How special. How incredibly bittersweet, and yet so special.
Jamie.
It's hard to believe that 11 years and 1 day ago, I was standing right here eulogizing my mom. Now I'm back here in front of the same friends and family, eulogizing my dad. My dad was a kind man with a tough exterior, but such a softie on the inside. Most of you probably only heard him speak a few words when my mom was still here, as she did all of the talking. But he definitely came out of his shell when she passed away, and boy could he talk. And he knew it. Even last week, he was telling me how much he overcompensated because he could just talk all day about anything. My dad worked a lot when we were growing up. As a doctor, evenings and weekends are a must. But he always made sure to come to recitals, band and chorus concerts, and my soccer games to cheer me on. He taught me to drive, was my #1 person for advice, and always made sure to let me know when my favorite movie, Armageddon, was on TV, so we could watch it together from a distance. I am thankful every day that I was able to give him 3 healthy years without dialysis, especially during COVID. I was able to give him life after he gave me life. I can say with confidence that my kidney was strong and perfect in my dad when he passed away, and I would do it over again in a heartbeat. Oh, Tyler. Tyler is what my dad would call his little dude, but also his best medicine. I sent my dad videos of Tyler, and he would watch them over and over to put a smile on his face. He loved my son with every ounce of love he had inside, and Tyler loved him back and couldn't wait to visit him. Tyler was very protective of him. Even yesterday, when I picked him up from the airport, he got into his papa's car, saw his walking sticks. Without thinking, he said, "Papa forgot his walking sticks to take to heaven with him." Yeah. Threw me for a loop. My dad used to sneak Tyler York peppermint patties when they would watch TV together. They would FaceTime, make silly faces together, play games, and when they smiled, they had the same squinty eyes. Pretty sure Tyler looks more like my dad than he looks like David or me. But Tyler, I want you to know that your papa loved you completely. I don't ever want you to forget him, and I want him to be a part of our lives, just like Nana. Just like you told me the other day, Nana and Papa are in heaven, but they're my mom and dad forever. Losing my dad, my hero, while pregnant, has been a whole extreme level of devastation. To this little guy in my belly, you won't know my dad the way that Tyler has for the last 5.5 years, but he will know him through our stories and love, just like we have done with the stories of my mom with Ty. Our family thanks every one of you for loving and caring for my mom and my dad over the years. Please remember all of the good times you've had, and whenever something comes to mind, please send me a message so I can keep these memories forever. Thank you.
With these thoughts, memories, and dedications in mind that we move to the central prayer of a Jewish memorial service, El Malei Rachamim, in which we ask God to grant true rest on the wings of His divine presence for Mark's soul. I'm going to read it first in English, followed by the cantor chanting it in the Hebrew. Please rise. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, Grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as a resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Menachem Mendel ben Yaakov Echenia Malka, Mark Bauman, who has gone to his eternal home. For charity has been donated in remembrance of his soul, may his place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter him with the cover of God's wings forever and bind his soul in the bond of life. Adonai is his heritage. May he rest in his resting place in peace. And let us say, Amen.
El Malei Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina במעלות קדושים במעלות קדושים קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת מנחם מנדל בן יעקב וחניה מלכה שהלך לעולמו מעט שאנו מזכירים את שמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים נחת נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוע בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
Please be seated. The family asks that donations in lieu of flowers please be made to Congregation Beth Tikva. Additionally, there are visits of consolation and Shiva Minyanim this evening and tomorrow evening at the synagogue, with visitation beginning at 6:30 and minyan promptly at 7. Immediately following our time here, we will make our way in processional to Crescent Memorial Park.
May we have the pallbearers, please? I will ask if you all would rise once more, please.
יושב בספר עליון, אצל שדי אתנן. אומר לרממעשי ומצורתי, אלוהי יתכו. כי הוא יצילך מפח יכוש מדבר חבוד. עברתו יספח ותמת כנפיו תחסה, צינה וסוחר עמיתו. לא תירא מפחד לילה מחצי עוף יומם. מדבר באופו יהלוך מכתב ישות צהריים. יפול מצדך 1000 ורבע מימינך, אליך לא ייגש. רק בעיניך תביט ושלומת השנים תראה. כי אתה, רממעשי עליון, שמת מעונך. לא תהנה אליך רע, תהנה ולאימך באוהל לך.
I will ask everyone if you can kindly just take seats for a moment, please. Thank you. I'll just bring them out there, so.